morning everybody, and welcome to the cricket. This is of course Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your host and lead commentator Chukka Wilson, and we are here for day 2 of the 2-day clash in round 4 between Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside. So, Riverside won the toss last week and batted first, and they were batting in their first innings, but then the rain came, which means that play was stopped in the 50th over with Riverside at 3 for 151. And what this means is that as far as the game is concerned, compulsory closure no longer exists because too much play has been lost. And so Riverside can continue batting today, and their innings at no point will come to an end unless they get bowled out or they declare. And so we are in for a very intriguing game as far as what's going to be happening today, because there are a whole series of equations that we're going to have to go through to see exactly what the tactics of these two teams are, because exactly what's going to happen today is an open question. What the two teams' attitudes will be as far as what they're trying to achieve today is not known clearly. But regardless, it's going to be a very exciting contest, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens today. Now, as I said, the last time you'll have seen us would have been last week as the rain came down. As a matter of fact, I think the last footage that you will have seen before this morning's broadcast would have been the torrential rain calling off the day's play, and then having this Mangrook Oval submerged somewhat underwater, with the pitch basically underwater. Many parts of the outfield were also underwater, so it was quite torrential. It was a thunderstorm. It lasted for a couple of hours, and it brought down quite a lot of rain. And so now we're back here. Unfortunately, Channel 8 did suffer quite a lot from that rain. A lot of our equipment was damaged. Thankfully, none of our technology was, so all of our cameras and other computers were not damaged. They were kept safe, and so they're fine. But our other organizational equipment was water damaged. So we haven't suffered great losses, but we have suffered losses here. But anyway, the problem is that it looks like the exact same weather that happened last week is going to be happening this week. So let's have a look at the weather for a second. So the Weather Bureau says that today is going to be 33 degrees and there is an 80% chance of rain. The rain will be 2 to 6 millimeters, and the Weather Bureau says there is a high chance of afternoon, early evening showers, with including thunderstorms later on tonight. So as far as the wording of the Weather Bureau is concerned, it looks like today is going to be an exact copy of what happened 7 days ago. The only difference is that today is slightly warmer. So last Saturday was 28 degrees. Today's going to be 33, and obviously far less rain is predicted to happen today than what happened last week. So on Saturday, the torrential rain brought down nearly 25 millimeters of rain, and today we're only expecting at most 6. So there is a certain chance that maybe at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4:30, some rain will happen today, and play will be called off, and the game will end. But we'll have to wait and see for that. But if it does, then obviously that has to be taken into consideration in the calculations of how they're actually going to play these two teams. Because if they know that there's only going to be 55 or 60 overs of play, then they have to figure out how to win or to save the game within that time frame. So let's go through the weather for the whole week. So, like I said, Saturday was 28 degrees. And the went down 25 millimeters of rain. Then there was no rain for several days after that. So Sunday was 29.3, Monday was 30.8, Tuesday was 32.9, Wednesday was 32.6, and then Thursday was 31.9. And so there was no rain throughout the entire week, and the temperature more or less was around that low 30s area. And then on Friday it was 31 degrees and there was 1 millimeter of rain. Last evening at about 7 o'clock the rain poured down. It was quite strong but not overwhelming. It was the kind of weather that if you placed a newspaper out on the ground for 10 seconds, it would have been completely wet within 10 seconds. So it's not, pouring, thundering down where your newspaper would be destroyed within 5 seconds. But then again, it's not light showers where you can still sort of survive without an umbrella. So it pounded down quite substantially last evening. And like I said, Saturday today is going to be 33 degrees, 80% chance of rain, with only 6 millimeters of rain predicted. Then tomorrow, Sunday, that is the big day. That is when the big rain is expected to happen. Of course, for the last couple of days, for a Friday, Thursday, and now Saturday, we have had very high humidity. Today, right now, it is very, very humid. It's the sort of weather where you just walking down the street brings you into a huge amount of sweat because of not only the temperature, but also the humidity. And then on Sunday, it's going to be 33 degrees again, and it is predicted that there's going to be 20 millimeters of rain. And so another great downpour, like we saw last week, is predicted to happen tomorrow. So thankfully we will not be affected by that. Thankfully the day's play will not be ruined through those events. So there you have it. Diamond Creek 2 versus Riverside. Riverside still batting with 7 wickets in hand and 150 runs on the board. We're going to have to just see what the two teams decide to do. We're going to talk about that later on after the break. But before we get to the break, I just want to mention that the Test cricket is currently happening. We are in day 3 of the first Test between Australia and England in Brisbane, and England got bowled out for a score just above 300, and now Australia is 5 for 187. Smith is not out still with a half century under his name, and Tim Payne has just come out, and we are going to be having regular updates with how that Test cricket is going, probably every 5 overs or so, or I think 5 overs sounds quite fair. So we're going to get regular updates to see what will happen, and so you'll be able to stay up to date with what's happening, even though you're here either watching Channel 8, the local sports network, or listening in on the radio through Bizz 99.9 FM substitute radio. Okay, it's time to take a break now, and then when we come back we're going to have a more thorough discussion about the game situation right now. Until then, before we take a break, we've got a very special treat for all of you, or for all of you watching on watching on TV or watching on Channel 8, the local sports network. Now, the rain poured down quite substantially last week, and it brings up memories of previous times during the springtime when the humidity was high, when there was lots of rainfall, and then when the entire suburb becomes submerged in this water. So about 5 years ago, something similar happened, but it was far worse. So the rain came down during a nice spring day, and the creek that runs through Diamond Creek was completely flooded, and much of Diamond Creek was underwater. And we were there at the time, and we took some photos of it. And so we have a photo montage of about 5 years ago when Diamond Creek last underwent such a flooding. And so we've got that very special presentation for you just as soon as the break happens, which is right now. So when we come back, we're going to be seeing the more discussion in this morning show. So don't go away. This is Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your host and lead commentator, Chukka Wilson. We are here to see Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside play at the Mungrook Oval. Today is the 25th of November 2017. It is round 4 of the F2 division in the 2017-18 season. Don't go away, we'll see you right after this break. And welcome back. We are here at the Mungrook Oval to see day 2 of the round 4 clash between Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside. Riverside were batting when the rain came last week. They batted into their 50th over, and the score is 3 for 151. This is Channel 8, the local sports network, and I am Chukka Wilson. Now let's have a look at the game situation in a bit more detail. So, Riverside won the toss last week and elected to bat, and it was a 100-run opening partnership between Butler and Mavcholek. And the first wicket fell when Mavcholek was out, caught and bowled Petrosoni for 53, taking the score to 1 for 108. Then in came the number 3 batsman, Lavarach, who didn't last long. He was bowled by Carr for 1, so the score was 2 for 112. And then Bowler was out, LBW Carr for 58, taking the score to 3 for 119. And so there you have it, 3 wickets for 11 runs, which completely changed the shape and nature of the game, because a 100-run opening partnership was phenomenal, not only because it's a lot of runs, but because the batsmen gave away very few chances. There were very few appeals, there were very few little half chances and quarter chances. It was just an amazing batting display where Riverside were just several leagues in front of the Diamond Creek 2 bowlers. And particularly the opening bowlers of Pearce and Ramsey were hit around quite badly. And then Diamond Creek 2 were able to hold things together with their first change bowlers of Farah and Russell in order to slow down the run rate. And then, but they weren't able to get wickets even though the run rate was starting to slow down. The key happened with their third change bowlers. So Keenan Carr and Zach Petrosoni were the 5th and 6th bowler respectively, and they were the ones that took the 3 wickets, which took the score from none for 108 to 3 for 119. And so it was quite a partnership, because you would say that Farah and Russell were the ones that deserve a lot of credit for their tight bowling throughout the middle period of the first session. But then it was Keenan Carr and Petrosoni who really took advantage of the situation by getting those 3 wickets. But then, with the score at 3 for 119, in came the 2 Merrifields. So A Merrifield and S Merrifield. And they were able to hold things together and actually bat out the rest of the day with a 32-run undefeated presently partnership. A Merrifield is on 21 not out, and S Merrifield is on 13 not out. And so that's why the score has been risen to 3 for 151, rather than something much lower than that. And so and then that happened to coincide with the return of Pearce and Ramsey for their second spells after the lunch break. And so when you actually look at the match situation, 151 is quite a reasonable total, considering that they batted 50 overs. I mean, going at 3 runs and over is quite good, considering that particularly when Farah and Russell were bowling, and then especially when Keenan Carr and Petrosoni were bowling, that the run rate fell to about 2.5. And so currently it looks like a very good run rate. Now let's go through the bowlers. So Pearce has an incompleted over, so he has 12.2 overs, 1 maiden, none for 57. He was by far the worst bowler for Diamond Creek 2, conceding nearly 5 runs and over. Ramsey, despite not being very effective, despite not actually coming close to taking any wickets, did a reasonably good job, very tight. He has figures of none for 22 off 11 overs with no maidens. Then in comes the first change bowlers. First we've got Farah, who has 9 overs, 2 maidens, none for 24, so going at about 3 runs and over. Then we got Sean Russell, 8 overs, 2 maidens, none for 29. Now Russell There were periods where Russell absolutely did amazing work and he looked really exciting, but then he clearly got tired near the end of his spell and he started to bowl a few loose balls, and he got hit around pretty badly, which is why his figures don't actually look as good as they should have. I mean, going at nearly 4 runs and over is not that good, and it definitely is not an accurate representation of just how useful he was for Diamond Creek during that middle period. And then you come to the third change bowlers. So Keane and Carr, 5 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 9, and Petrosino, 4 overs, no maidens, 1 for 7. So what are Riverside going to do now? Because there's no compulsory closure, so they have complete freedom to decide how long they're going to bat, and what they're going to actually target to achieve today. So they could decide that they can't win the game because they don't have enough time left and they don't have enough runs, and they could just decide to bat out the entire day. 68 overs today, or 50 overs, or whatever, how many overs we get today, they just decide to bat it out. Another option would be to declare overnight. Now, considering that Diamond Creek 2 have batted 5 times so far this season, and only on one occasion have they put up a really strong fight to really put the fielding team on the back foot. Other than that, Diamond Creek 2's batting has been pretty bad, scoring a very small total in the one-day game, and then in getting bowled out for a very, very small score in the first innings of both their 2-day clashes. And then in the derby, they did not bat very well, but they just didn't lose enough wickets to get an outright defeat. And then finally, in the last game that we saw, they actually did put up a real fight, thanks to Farah's excellent innings of 85. No one else scored double figures, but so it was all Farah really who really saved the game for Diamond Creek last round. So with that information, you would have to say that Diamond Creek 2 would not be able to chase down a substantial target, that they don't have the batting potential to actually chase down a significant amount of runs. And so then the question shouldn't be about fearing to lose. I don't think the Riverside captain or the Riverside team should be thinking that there's a chance of them losing this game because they declare too early and therefore allowing Diamond Creek to chase down their runs. The chances of that happening seem very slim considering the evidence we have at hand. So the most likely scenario is, will they be able to bowl them out? And we've seen both sides of Diamond Creek 2 over the course of this season. We've seen them put up a wonderful fighting display and bat for 50-60 overs to save a game. And other times we've had them bowled out within 20-something overs for an abysmal score. And so either one could happen for Diamond Creek. And so Riverside should be thinking, how many overs will it take them to bowl out Diamond Creek for a score maybe about 100? So 100 would be a reasonably expected score for Diamond Creek 2 if you calculate the averages of because they've been bowled out cheaply for a couple of times and then they've batted reasonably well a couple of times. So if you just have the averaged out, you just say, okay, 100. How many overs will that take? Maybe 50 overs to take. It might take 50 overs to take those 10 wickets, and so then you would think, okay, how long more should Riverside bat before they declare? And so then you have to think about how many overs are in this game and how many overs you would expect you would need to score enough runs to guarantee yourself a winning position. because currently the score is 3 for 151, and now I already think that 151 is probably too much for Diamond Creek 2 to really chase down, but it's not such a large total that they couldn't have a go at it, because it's within the margin of possibilities. But if Riverside decide to keep batting and go to 200, or maybe even 175, well, that makes the target too large, and then Diamond Creek 2 will have no hope of ever chasing that down, and so then they wouldn't even bother trying. They would just immediately try to save the game. And so that's the other thing, like, do you try to declare early and give them a sniff, give Diamond Creek 2 a chance to win this game, or do you bat Diamond Creek 2 out of the game, and then it's just a matter of trying to bowl them out and Diamond Creek 2 trying to save the game? And so all of these factors will be going through the Riverside captain's mind. The other factor, as I mentioned, is the weather, of course. The Weather Bureau says that approaching the end of the afternoon and into the evening period, perhaps 4 o'clock or 3:30 or 4:30, sometime around then, we're expecting a substantial amount of rain and maybe even a thunderstorm. And so it's probably unlikely that we're going to see a full allotment of 68 overs today. We might only see 60 or 55 rather than, so we saw 50 overs last week. The play ended in the 50th over, and so would you reasonably expect to see that 50 overs or 55 overs today? I think that's around the mark that we should be expecting to see here today. So that's obviously something to consider. So what will the Riverside captain do? How will he believe that he'll be able to get his bowlers into a significant position where they are able to take the 10 wickets for Diamond Creek 2 and force a conclusion to this game with a first innings points for his team? And now Diamond Creek 2 are thinking, how are we going to save this game? So how Diamond Creek 2 come out today and actually try to defend is going to be a significant question, because it's obviously going to be very difficult, because the run rate is almost exactly 3 runs per over, and you obviously want to keep the run scoring to a minimum. But Mungrook Oval is not the easiest scoring ground, and so it's not like we're going to be expecting to see 5 and 6 runs per over being scored by Riverside in order to quickly get a target and then declare. I think Riverside would expect at best to go at about 4 runs per over. That would be probably a reasonably honest and predictable situation, considering the oval, considering the batting, and considering the bowling they'll be facing. And so 4 runs and over. How does Diamond Creek 2 defend that? Well, I think that they need to have some sort of in-out field. On the one hand, cutting off the singles. They cannot allow easy singles to be scored, but equally they can't afford to concede the boundaries, especially straight down the wicket. And so it might be a reasonable idea to have at least 2 fielders on the fence, a fine leg and a mid-on or a mid-off, so that though both the boundaries straight of the wicket are protected. And then it's a matter of having enough men around the fence, enough men around the bat, so that no quick singles are being scored. And so the batsman, in order to score runs, has to take some risks, and it becomes very difficult. And I think that would be the best way to go about it, both in order to take wickets for Diamond Creek 2 and to slow down the Riverside assault by keeping the run rate down. So that I think should be the aim for Diamond Creek 2. If they are able to keep Riverside scoring rate down, then they should be thinking that Riverside will have to bat longer in order to declare, in which case it'll be easier to save the game because there'll be less overs to defend. Or Riverside will have to declare sooner rather than they would have liked, which means that the target might actually be reachable. And so it's really going to be up to Diamond Creek 2 to put a really good, solid defense when they come out into the field to actually put the pressure back on Riverside. Because that's the thing, even though Riverside are in the driving seat, Riverside are in control of this game, Riverside are the ones who are going to be forcing a result, the fact of the matter is that Riverside are the ones that are under the most pressure. Diamond Creek 2 have already lost 3 games from their 3 rounds of play thus far, and so they're at the bottom of the ladder, and they are not expected to actually make the finals because of Diamond Creek 1 is actually the team is going to be trying to get into the finals. And so Diamond Creek 2 do not have the same amount of pressure that they need to get into the finals, that they need to show themselves, that they need to get these wins under the board. And so the pressure is going to be on Riverside. Riverside, as the current ladder, is Riverside are in 3rd place. So Lower Plenty are the only team who have 3 wins from 3 games. Then you have the Bulk, who have 2 wins and 1 loss, who are Laylaw Stars, Riverside, Diamond Creek 1, and Lower Eltham. And so those are the 4 teams competing. Those 5 teams are competing for 4 spots at present. Obviously, there's still a long way to go before we get into the finals, but that gives you a sense of exactly what this league is looking at like. So Riverside need this win. They cannot afford to just have a draw, and they can't afford to just lazily allow Diamond Creek 2 to either save the game or, worst of all, actually give Diamond Creek 2 a chance to chase down these runs. They need this win to Riverside. And so therefore the issue is, how are they going to force the play? How are they going to make this game happen? And that is why the pressure is on Riverside. Alright, so that is the game situation. We're just going to have to keep an eye on things to see exactly what happens. There is a lot of players right now hanging around, including some people who are clearly not here for the cricket. I do not know why they're here, but we're going to have to keep an eye on them. They seem to be walking away. Where are they going? Oh, maybe they're going to the lawn bowls. Okay, so they decided to walking over the field instead of through the car park. Oh, maybe it's a funeral. We'll look away from that as a form of courtesy. So anyway, that's the game situation. This is what we're up to. Riverside 3 for 151 with an incompleted 50th over currently, and so we're just going to see what Riverside decide to do when game starts getting underway, which is in about 40 minutes time. So let's take a break now. You are watching Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners, Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your lead host and lead commentator, Chukka Wilson. We are here at the Mungrook Oval to watch Diamond Creek 2 versus Riverside, Day 2 of Round 4 in the F2 division. Riverside 3 for 151 coming into Day 2. Alright, let's take a break now. When we come back, we have more of the morning show. This is Channel 8.
No gravity that sucked me in your orbit. There's no magnet that was in your heart. The one restriction was the friction that was keeping us a little too far apart. Well, why fight it? I was secretly delighted. I gave chase and then I let you win. felt lovely when you loved me like a fool, but now I can't let go of your skin. You know that I never knew that you are crazy glue, my darling. And I'm stuck to you, but I'm cozy and I don't wanna wiggle loose. You're honey like a finger in the beehive. The bees are buzzing in a tizzy fit, and they're stinging, but I'm singing like a fool, 'cause you're as sweet as a banana split. You're sticky like a hippie in the summer. You're like syrup in the slushy tray. And one touch of you and I will never leave, 'cause I believe I can't get away. You know that I never knew that you are crazy glue, darling. And I'm stuck to you, but I'm cozy and I don't wanna wiggle loose. I don't wanna wiggle loose. Hold on to me, and hand in hand we'll follow. Hold on to me, as if you had a choice. I never knew that you are crazy glue, my darling. And I'm stuck to you, but I'm cozy and I don't wanna wiggle loose. I don't wanna wiggle loose.
Hello and welcome back. We are here at the Mungrook Oval in Diamond Creek to see day 2 of the round 4 clash between Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside. Now, before we continue on, let's just have a look at the other games that are happening in the F2 division presently. Now, the rain obviously affected different games in different ways. In fact, I know of a game in the G4 which was played at the second Hurstbridge Oval, which was completely called off. The Hurstbridge Oval is submerged and it has just become a bog because of the rain that happened last Saturday, and it is unplayable, and so they've had to move the game, and so that game that happened last week has been annulled, and we're going to have a one-day game for them this week. But other than that, it's mostly going to be the same situation where enough play has been lost that compulsory closure is not in effect, which means that the team who batted first day 1 is still batting come the start of day 2, and the question is then what their approach is going to be. So let's go through them. Lower Plenty, who are 3-0, top of the ladder, versus the North Eltham Wanderers, who are 1-2. Lower Plenty batted first, and they are 5 for 107 after 51 overs, so they are batting very slowly. Nice has 53 and Willis 35 not out. Now, the North Eltham Wanderers bowlers, 5 wickets they've taken and 5 individual bowlers. Knight, Stancombe, Mata, Corbin and Abatangelo. So there you have it. Lower Plenty 5 for 107. 107 is certainly not a target, a total that you can win a game from, so they'll have to continue batting for quite a while today, and maybe try and think of declaring maybe at lunch. Lower Eltham, who are 2-1, versus Mill Park, who are 0-3. Lower Eltham 7 for 127 after 56 overs. So once again, scoring at about 2 runs per over, and this time Lower Eltham are 7 wickets down, so they're still in, but only barely just. So amongst the Mill Park bowlers, Zvanovic has 1, Sako has 2 for 17, Narasimha has 3 for 24, and Vedana Patharana has 1 for. So there you have it. Lower Eltham will have to keep batting as well, because I don't think 127 is a winnable score either. And finally, Laylaw Stars, who are 2-1, versus Diamond Creek 1, who are also 2-1. Diamond Creek were bowled out for 61. Diamond Creek were bowled out for 203 in 61 overs. This is in fact the only game where the full allotment of 68 overs happened. So in the Lower Plenty North Eltham Wanderers game, only 51 overs happened. And then in the Lower Eltham Mill Park game, only 56 overs happened. But in this game, a full 68 with a changeover. So it was only 67 overs with the ball. So Diamond Creek bowled out for 203 after 61 overs. Milner, 135. And then double figure scores for Watson, Pendry and Merritt. Among the Laylaw Stars bowlers, we have Cheney took 3 for 9, Bard took 2 for 38, Hayes took 2 for 32, and then 1s for Kioskos, Lacey and Godino. And then Laylaw Stars batted out for the rest of the day, batting out 6 overs, ending up at 1 for 1. The only run was scored by Marshall, who was the batsman who went out. So the 2 batsmen who are currently in are Hayes and Darmondi, who are both on 0 not out. Among the Diamond Creek bowlers, only 2 bowlers rolled the arm over. Farron Price has none for 1, and Poon has 1 for none. So none for 1 and 1 for 1. 1 for none and none for 1 are the 2 bowlers. So there you have it. It's not exactly clear, because with the rain, because there's no compulsory closure, because of everything, because there's rain expected today, there's just no way of knowing what's going to be happening in these games. It's really going to be interesting to see which captains are more aggressive in deciding to declare earlier and then trying to force the game ahead, and which teams are going to be more defensive and try and wait until they're certain that they're not going to lose the game for then having a bowl. And then that will give us a sense of just who wins today and who has a draw, and what the ladder will look like after 4 rounds. Because after 4 rounds, we're going to get a much better sense of exactly where all the teams are in terms of the F2 division. Okay. So before we take another break, let's just go through some classic cricket, because Diamond Creek and Riverside have played against each other many times over the years, and it's worth looking back at some of these games to get a sense of just how strong this rivalry is. And so I have 3 classic games from not too distant past to give us a sense of just how strong the rivalry is. But No, we're going to look at that after the break. So we're going to take a break for now, and we'll look at the classic games afterwards. You are watching Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your host and lead commentator, Chukka Wilson. We are here at the Mungrook Oval to watch day 2 of the round 4 clash between Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside. Riverside batted first last week, and they were still batting when the horrendous rain came, which ended the day's play. They've had 50 overs with the bat. Their score is 3 for 151. So we're going to be seeing what they decide to do come the beginning of today. So let's take a break now. When we come back, we've got more of the morning show.
City lights, eyes on the wall through another sleepless night. I just wanna be alone again. And I'm remembering I was a wreck when we met at the dollar store. I should have just made a run for the exit door. I was into you, but now I'm in too deep. I was over my head, but you said that I'm safer in your arms. I was over my head, so I fled to the comfort of your charms. I guess at the time you were so idealized. Now in the light of the day I realized I was into you, but now I'm into deep. And now I think that it is sad that I had to get tangled in the wires of your snare. It's sad that we had to evaporate and vanish in the air. And I don't care if you go, I don't care if you go, I don't care if you up and walk away and just leave me with a wave in the dark. I don't care if you go, I don't care if you go. And now I see that it never really mattered. It's just another chapter to close. I don't care if you go. Do what you want. I am tired, I am sick of this. I never wanted to even admit to this. I was into you, but now I'm in too deep. And now I'm telling you, I may be awake, but I never really opened up my eyes. I may be awake, but I never really wanted to rise. And I don't care if you go, I don't care if you go, I don't care if you up and walk away and just leave me with the wave in the dark.
Hello and welcome back. We are here at the Mungrook Oval to see day 2 of the round 4 clash between Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside in the F2 division. Riverside were batting first and they batted out throughout the entirety of day 2, but then their innings was interrupted by that horrific torrential rain, which means that the score is at 3 for 151 in the 50th over. So compulsory closure has been wiped out, which means that technically anything could happen. Riverside could declare right now, or Diamond Creek 2 could bowl out Riverside and chase down the runs, or Riverside could bat out the entirety of today's play. This is Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners, Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your host and lead commentator, Chukka Wilson. Now, previously I promised you some classic matches from the not too distant past, and here they are. So, first of all, in the 2016-17 season, so last season, in the F1 division, we have Diamond Creek versus Riverside here at the Mungrook Oval. Diamond Creek won the toss and batted first and were bowled out for 147. Bellingham 45, Glynn 28, Pendry 31, then Davies also got into double figures. For the Riverside bowlers, Ali took 6 for 31, Drake 2 for 51, and then also a wicket by Brooker. Then in response, Riverside were able to chase it down, ending up at 3 for 152 off 48 overs. Amenta 64 not out, Salvatico 16 not out, Jerkovic 24 and McMaster Smith 31. Among the Diamond Creek bowlers, 1 for Wingrave, 1 for Pendry and 1 for Glynn. By the way, if for those of you who are interested in the Test cricket, England took the new ball and were able to take out 3 wickets, and so currently Australia are 7 wickets down with Smith and Cummins in right now. Smith is on about 80 not out, so a good half century by Sean Marsh, but then he went out. And then the new ball with James Anderson and Stuart Broad has gotten rid of both Payne and Stark. Okay, back to the classic matches. Then we have 2 more games in the classics, which are both G2 matches. So, so Diamond Creek versus Riverside at Campbell Street. This time, Riverside won the toss and batted first. 9 for 163 after 35 overs. This was a one-day game, so 9 for 163. Dixon 59, Air 26, Polinato 27, and then Parsons and Watson also got double figures. For the Diamond Creek bowlers, Boland 2 for 30, Boland 3 for 12, and then ones for Merritt, Oliver, Merritt and Davies. And then in response, Diamond Creek were able to chase down that large total. 3 for 167 after 31 overs, with Ritchie a half century, then Mangan 30, Davies 36 not out, Pizzachetta 21, and then Merritt 20. Among the Riverside bowlers, Sinclair 2 for 48, and then the other one by Maley. And then finally we have Diamond Creek versus Riverside again back here at the Mungrook Oval in the G2. Riverside won the toss and batted first. This time it was a 2-day clash. Batting out their 68 overs, 5 for 240. Money 168 not out, Sinclair 36. Among the Diamond Creek bowlers, Boland 2 for 41 and then Mangan 3 for 70. So a mammoth total by Riverside, and Diamond Creek in response never came anywhere near it, ending up batting out their 68 overs 8 for 104. Richie, Petrosino, Boland, Polinato, so Richie, Petrosino and Boland all scored double figures. Then amongst the Riverside bowlers, Polinato 2 for 24, Archibald 2 for 15, and then ones to Miles, Sinclair and Maley. So there you have it. It's a rather interesting sample. So first of all, Diamond Creek getting bowled out for a small score in a 2-day game and Riverside chasing it down. Then Riverside making a very large score in a 1-day game and Diamond Creek chasing it down. And then Riverside scoring a mammoth score in a 2-day game and Diamond Creek coming nowhere near. Now obviously these involve Diamond Creek, and we're not exactly sure where Diamond Creek 2 in the F2 division would fit in as far as Diamond Creek the club is concerned. Obviously Diamond Creek 1 has a different history and has a different team structure and has a different project in mind than what Diamond Creek 2 does, and so it's an open-ended, would have to get more information to figure out just exactly what Diamond Creek 2 specifically are wanting to achieve. But I wanted to bring up those classic games to give us a sense of just exactly the history between these two clubs. And it's clear that it's been good cricket, it's been exciting cricket, and it certainly hasn't been one-sided. It's been quite competitive. Alright, so those are the classic games. And now the score, the time is just 13 minutes to 1 o'clock, and so it is not going to be far away from the start of play. And so we're going to take another break now, and when we come back we're going to see the players walking onto the field to begin the day's play. So you are watching Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your host commentator Chukka Wilson, and I am very happy to have you here with me as we look at this very exciting Round 4 F2 clash. Speaking of the Round 4 F2 clash, let's have a look at it. It is Round 4 F2 in the 2016-17 season. Diamond Creek 2 versus Riverside here at the wonderful Mungrook Oval here in Diamond Creek. Alright, let's take a break now and we'll come back. We have cricket not far away.
The tide is on the brink of extinction. The sky is on the verge of collapse. The birds and the trees all are falling like leaves. The memories are floating away. The cabins on the shore are abandoned. The streets are just a river of dust. The ships on the bay all go sailing
Hello and welcome back. As you can see, the players for the Diamond Creek are mostly on the field doing last minute warm-ups. The two umpires are walking towards the wicket to take up their positions. So it's just a matter of just waiting for the last few formalities to get completed before play can get underway. Australia are still 7 wickets down. They're about 7 for 211. And there come the two Riverside batsmen. Now, Riverside are continuing to bat, and the question is, what type of total are they going to set? Are they going to declare? Are they not going to declare? Are they going to allow themselves to get bowled out? Are they going to chase quick runs? Are they going to bat normally? What time parameters are they going to set themselves to actually win this game? Like I said during the morning show, it's of all the teams that need the points, it is Riverside. Riverside are competing for a top 4 spot. After 4 rounds, you expect that most of the F2 division will be, in terms of how the mix is, you should be able to get a sense of who is the best team and who are not. And so that's why Riverside would want the points to establish themselves as one of the top 4 teams and to say, we are competing for a spot in the finals. And so, I mean, they don't have to win. It's not like they're competing for a place in the finals. But then again, if they don't win this game, they risk falling down lower down the ladder and then being overtaken by some other people. All right. So all the Diamond Creek players are getting into position, and we're going to see ball 1 very shortly. All right, so it's time for us to now take a break. This is the end of the morning show, and when we come back, we've got ball 1. So we'll see you after this break.
There's a little girl in Skibbereen with flowing hair and ragged jeans and floating in a vivid dream as classes go by. And every day at 3 o'clock she's out the door and down the block and hurries to the river dock with a gleam in her eyes. And everything's fine for the day. There's nothing to get in the way of her smiling. There's never a care for tomorrow, 'cause Molly's a princess today. Oh, la 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 la. The barricade's a castle wall 47 miles tall. The river's got a waterfall, the moat is so deep. The cedar trees are canopies, a ceiling made of needle leaves. A buzzing fleet of honeybees are guarding the keep. No one can take this away. It's locked in her mind and can never escape. And there's never a care for tomorrow, 'cause Molly's a princess today. Oh, la 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 la. Can be life dreams of your past never quite seem to last in a future that's so far away. But here in this place, you know, Molly, is a princess today. In a little while it's dinner time, she leaves the kingdom in her mind, a bookmark in the storyline, the chapter is done. The mystery of what will be tomorrow when the clock strikes 3, there beneath the cedar tree the princess will come. And there's nothing that she couldn't do when she closes her eyes and imagines the view, and there's never a care for tomorrow, 'cause Molly's a princess today. Yeah, well, there's never a care for tomorrow, 'cause Molly's a princess today. Oh,